Welcome back to Fantasy Poolies Footy Show. And today we are back in the technical area for our fourth episode where we sit down with some of the biggest names both on and off the pitch in North American footy. As always, this episode is brought to you by Addison Albert Events. From weddings, religious celebrations, and corporate events, Addison Albert has you covered. Head over to their IG for more or reach out directly. This week, we're joined by Alecko Eskandarian, former teammate of mine at TFC and current Vice President of Player Relations and Player Development at Major League Soccer. A name that carries weight not just in MLS circles, but across generations of North American soccer. Before Alecko made his own mark, the legacy began with his father, Andranik Eskandarian, a defensive titan for Iran's national team who played every minute of the 1978 FIFA World Cup and earned 29 caps for his country. After the World Cup, Andranik joined the iconic New York Cosmos of the NASL, where he played alongside some of the greatest legends the sport has ever known, Pelé, Franz Beckenbauer, Carlos Alberto, Giorgio Chinaglia, during a golden era for soccer in the U.S. Alecko didn't just inherit a last name, he built a legacy of his own. While at Bergen Catholic High School, Eskandarian won the 1999-2000 Gatorade National High School Athlete of the Year award. He was also named an Adidas All-American and New Jersey State Player of the Year after leading the state of New Jersey in scoring with 66 goals and 15 assists through 25 games during his senior year. He finished his high school career with 154 goals, the most in Bergen County history, and the third most in New Jersey high school history. Prior to playing as a professional, he played 3 years of soccer at UVA, the University of Virginia, where he was named the best player in college soccer and awarded the Hermann Trophy in 2002 after scoring 25 goals, a school record, and 4 assists for the Cavaliers. He played 3 standout seasons at the University of Virginia and established himself as one of the all-time greats at the school. He finished his Cavaliers career with 50 goals, including 15 game winners, 113 points, and 13 assists in 60 games, before foregoing his senior year to go pro. During his 3 seasons at UVA, Eskandarian was a 3-time All-American, first-team All-ACC, ACC Rookie of the Year in 2000, and was also named ACC Player of the Year and Soccer America's College Player of the Year in 2002. In 2003, he was selected number 1 overall in the MLS Super Draft by DC United, quickly making an impact on the league. By 2004, he helped DC United win the MLS Cup, scoring twice in the final and earning MLS Cup MVP honors. A 2-time MLS All-Star, Alecko also earned a senior cap for the U.S. men's national team in 2003. His career included impactful stints with Toronto FC, Real Salt Lake, Chivas USA, and LA Galaxy before concussions forced an early retirement. But his impact didn't end on the pitch. Alecko transitioned into coaching and leadership, helping guide the Cosmos to a national championship in 2015 and has since become a key voice in the league's front office. Today, he serves as Vice President of Player Relations and Player Development at Major League Soccer, where he plays a pivotal role in supporting players across the league, shaping development pathways, and helping move the game forward both on and off the field. Esky, welcome to the technical area.
Thank you. What an intro, Andre.
Hey, I'm kind of known for my intros. I'm going to be honest with you. I did one for Carm, and he yelled at me. If you remember Carm back in the day, I did one for Carm, and he's like, you're boring. You're boring. This is boring. Nobody wants to hear that. And I was like, Carm, I was just being nice. Like, I wrote you a nice bio. Like, come on. Those Maryland guys, Esky, those Maryland guys.
That might be Carm's, though. That might be Carm's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, let me start with, should we get the spoon story out of the way now, or should we do it later? I say we just do it off the top.
That's up to you.
No,
that is your story. So
let's just go with the spoon story right off the top. Let's hook the viewer in. Let's go with the spoon story right off the top.
Well, this is my intro to Andrea. You know, I joined TFC. I think I was like the 5th or 6th player that they signed because it was an expansion year. They're going through the expansion draft, all that stuff. So I joined this new club. Don't know anyone really. Coach is like, oh, we got a bunch of like young Canadian guys that we brought in as well. So like, all right, we'll see how these guys are. First week in preseason, I meet Andrea, great kid, good talent. I'm like, all right, I love this young kid who's got a bright future in the game. So try to like kind of take him under my wing a little bit in the beginning. We go to preseason trip in Florida. Obviously, the boys are, trying to do some team bonding exercises. And all of a sudden, one of the guys is like, we're going to play a game called Spoons. And I'm like, I never heard of it. I didn't know what was going on.
It was the British guys, right?
Yeah, some of the guys that played in the UK, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Spoons. It's a great game. It's a great game." So they're like, "Yeah, the rookies got to play against each other." And so I'm just watching from afar, and poor Andrea. I mean, you want me to go into details?
We know the game though.
Yeah, go into details. Go into details. Give the full story.
I mean, it was just one of the funniest things I had ever seen because I was kind of oblivious to what was going on, but I knew something was up. And then obviously these guys are standing there. Would you have your hands behind your back, spoon in your mouth? Person in front of you has to bend their head over, and you gotta, with your mouth, hit him on the top of the head with the spoon. And so Andrea's the first one that goes, and he's just like, and he tries it, and it's like the weakest little like boop on the top of the guy's head. And then Andrea puts his head down, and the next guy's gonna go. And all of a sudden, I think it was Adam Braz like sneaks in from behind, tells the guy like, "Shh, don't say anything." He's got a big metal spoon, bam, right in the back of Andrea's head. And Andrea's like, "God damn it!" Picks his head up, and he's just looking at this guy with a spoon in his mouth in front of him. Oh my God, it was one of the funniest things. And they did like Andrea went like 10 rounds. He was like so determined, like, what the hell? How are you guys hitting me so hard? And he just kept on trying. Oh my God. It was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen.
Just you being competitive, eh? You're just always competitive. And you're losing. You know you're losing at this point.
I was like, how are these guys generating so much power with a spoon in their mouth? Like, I was like with all my might going. And then I was like, these guys are killing me right now. Like, what's going on? And like, from then on, I was known as Spoons.
But the best thing, okay, so there's two more parts. One, the next morning, Andrea had long hair. He thought he was Pirlo. And he goes in, and the next morning, I'm like, "How you doing?" He's like, "Bro, I couldn't even shampoo my hair this morning. I just have lumps all over my head." And then we never told Andrea what actually happened. Then months later, Danny Dicchio joined the team. We're out at a bar, and Danny's like, "Andrea, why does everybody call you Spoons?" Because we just kept calling him Spoons from then. And it's like, "Oh, because we played this game." And he's like, Danny's like, "Oh, the game where someone hits someone with a metal spoon?" And Andrea, all of a sudden, it's like the light bulb went on. He was like, "You assholes."
Months. They let it go on for months, man. Oh my God. I think I just got PTSD and my head hurts. And I might need to get checked out for like CTE or something. I don't know, man. Like that was painful. Thanks for taking the time. I want to start with kind of growing up in a soccer household. You know, that intro we talked about your dad to start and his soccer career. Talk to us a little bit about what it was like growing up in a soccer household with a dad who played at a very high level. Luca coaches and is the OPDL technical director at Vaughan Soccer Club, which we've produced a few MLS talents to date. I've coached there for a long time as well. So we deal with youth soccer players and their parents all the time. Talk to us what it was like to actually live in a household with a dad who played with all of these like legendary names across the game, and what that was like for you and how that helped shape your, attitude towards soccer growing up.
Yeah, it was everything for me. I mean, such a blessing for me to be surrounded by these global stars at a young age. And yeah, I had an older brother. I have an older brother as well, 3 years older than me. So literally since the day I was born, I had a ball at my feet, just competing against my older brother, going to my dad's practices, games, and just kind of always being, the little tag along that was there. But I was so competitive. I was so passionate. So for me, it was paradise because it was just always surrounded by the game, always kicking the ball around, always had people around who wanted to like pass the ball with me, dribble with me, juggle with me, whatever it was. And so that was all I knew. That was the best thing about, my childhood is that there was no shortage of games or training sessions. And then it was, for me, just being as competitive as I was, like always trying to, play with older players and kind of rise the ranks. And then I was fortunate to get great advice from my dad and, kind of teach me technique, teach me lessons and not just soccer lessons, but life lessons as well, which was even more important.
And would you say did he have, did he let you kind of develop on your own? Like what kind of soccer dad was he I mentioned we coach youth players. There's a lot of soccer is different now than it was back then, but there can be a lot of helicopter dads, crazy soccer dads. Like, obviously he knew the game and knew it well. He was well qualified, but was he kind of hands off, hands on? Like once I guess you
Yeah.
got to a certain level.
Definitely more, it was a mix, I would say, in that hands off in terms of like, didn't really go to my games. If he did, sat in the car, not on the sidelines, wouldn't really say anything. It would just be long talks before the game and after the games. And it was more, and never like pressure to play, but if it was more like, if you're going to do this, you're going to do it the right way. If you don't want to do it, no problem. Go play something else, or don't play at all. But he's like, if you're serious about it and you want to do it the right way, I'm going to tell you the right ways to do it. But yeah, it was a good mix where like in our home environment, like some tough lessons in terms of like my brother and I competing and like trying to learn different things and so on. But in terms of like letting it be known that he was my dad, zero. If anything, the opposite, where it was like fend for yourself and you got to figure it out on your own. And even actually my mom and my dad split up like who would drive who to practices and stuff. So my mom was kind of in charge of me. So all the way until like maybe 13, 14 years old, it was just my mom that would be at my practices and games. And my dad would be with my brother. But, we had some wars in the local parks in Jersey or like in our backyard. And I think that's where most of the development was done.
Nice. Lou, you go with a question here based on, your experience and what you're living through the game now.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because what I see a lot of times with these soccer dads is the ones who never played are the ones who are the worst towards the kids, right? And we know why, because they're living vicariously through their kids. And the ones who did play understand and lay off of you as a coach and whatnot. So to hear that, it's refreshing, and it's like it just stamps what it is with these dads, right? Like that they put too much pressure on their kids, right? And let's face it, you were a very successful, amazing player. You did it at a young age. You did it through all the ages, right? I remember watching you growing up, and I tried to emulate you a lot because I was that little striker as well. So it's nice to hear because, I mean, let's face it, your dad made it, right? And so did you, right? And so what message would you give these dads, all these dads with these kids right now?
Well, I think the most important thing is if your kid's playing when he's being told to play or when someone's telling him what to do, then it's not going to be enough to make it. Like, I played so much on my own to the point that my parents used that as a way to be like, hey, you know what? If you don't do your schoolwork, we're not driving you to practice, type of thing. Yeah. Whereas nowadays I'm seeing parents who are like pulling their kids out of school in order to get them to this training and that training and go here and go there. And it's like, guys, when you're putting all that stress of doing all these different things, I feel like the kids like fall out of love with the game. And to me, if you don't have that passion and love to do it on your own when no one is watching, then the ceiling is a little bit lower and it's going to be a little bit more limited. So my advice is like, keep it fun, keep the passion high, keep it interesting. The more it's like forced, it starts feeling like a job. And when I see kids who like don't play with a smile on their face, it's like, I wonder how far they're going to go, because it almost seems like they don't even want to be at games or sessions sometimes because it's like too much.
Yeah.
So I just think it's more about being inspired, being motivated, creating a good environment, whether it's the club team, training sessions, whether it's with your friends, but like you got to have fun and you got to be able to express creativity. Another part, even at the academy system now, it's starting to get really cookie cutter where everyone looks the same and they're playing the same and they're doing the same things. And I look back at my own childhood and I'm like, the most fun I had was like screwing around with my friends and like being like, oh, did you see what Ronaldinho did in that game? And we're like all trying it and failing. And all of a sudden like one guy gets it and you're like, yo, how did you do that? And now you're like trying to do it and then it's like, oh, like try it in the game or whatever it is. Like you're just, being able to express yourself and have that creativity. That to me is what made me fall in love with the game. Soccer for me was an outlet from my life outside of it, because I was like, I don't want to say a bad kid, but like I would get in trouble and things like that off the field, just like at home or whatever. And for me, soccer was like a way to kind of like express myself and like show what I could do. And it really helped me get my life on track. So I hate when I see kids who are like almost being, down to like the very last detail, told exactly what to do and how to play and all these expectations and pressures. Because for me, it was the opposite experience.
Yeah, yeah.
When would you say, like, what is a good age if you think of like youth soccer, whether it be in Canada or the US? What is a good age where you would, like, if you had a son or daughter growing up in the game and you're like, okay, I see some potential, it's pretty good, like, you're a good player? Because, like, at what age would you say you're like, okay, I need to start taking this seriously? And I don't mean by like attitude and training. I'm talking about, like, strength sessions and all that extra stuff that kids are like. We see professional, like, 6, 7, 8 year olds at this point where they're training like 4 or 5 days a week. They're doing strength, they're in the gym, they're like, at what point would you say is a good age where you're like, if my kid's got some talent, this is where I'm going to start pushing and saying, like, hey, if you have aspirations and you want to do it, then we got to go to the next level?
I think at like 12, 13 for like the phenoms, okay, it's fine to like, have them play up and like expose them to different types of training or different challenges. And again, it's case by case for every single person. But I think whatever it is, whatever the age is, it's just finding challenges that are matching their desire and their potential and their talent. So like for me, when I was 9, 10 years old, I remember playing up with my brother's age group, 11, 12, 13-year-olds, because I could handle it. But I would play with my age group as well, because like you have to be fun. There's a social aspect and all that. But it's like getting a taste of like just what it's like. I think at 12, 13, now it's okay with like the supplemental training and things like that. But probably not until, 14 in terms of like really, really ramping it up to see where it goes. But I think from that 12 to 14 age is really when you can kind of gauge what that athlete needs.
Are you big on dual sport at a young age?
Yeah, for sure. To me, that's one of the things that's really, really important. One, not to get burned out and keep things fresh, but also just to develop different types of athleticism and different muscles and different parts of your body. It only helps with coordination. And obviously it should be something that's like complementary to soccer and maybe similar. But I think it's really important to play multiple sports.
Wait, so what were you good at growing up besides soccer?
Basketball.
I
was a baller. All the way until my freshman year of high school, I played basketball. I may have made a decent amount of money because I was able to dunk, but I couldn't palm a basketball, so I had to like dunk like a volleyball or a tennis ball. But I had hops when I was younger. But like even like screwing around in our driveway, whatever, like one-on-ones with my brother and I, like we played basketball just as much as soccer. But again, you develop a different type of athleticism through that. That only helped in soccer.
Next time you're in town, we got to get a 1v1 going, you and Carm. Because Carm's got basketball in his locker too. And we got the Maryland, Virginia rivalry going. Like, Carm was a baller back in his day too. Actually, still is. I think he runs men's league still, right?
Wednesday night,
That's
still
awesome.
plays.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We'll make it happen for sure.
Talk to us about, so when did you realize that, okay, I can kind of do something with this soccer thing? In the intro, we talked about, all the accolades that you received in high school and then, getting drafted to, or not drafted, sorry, going to UVA and then from there getting drafted. So, I gave the sort of Cole's notes on your career, but talk to us about from, junior, senior year in high school all the way through your MLS career, like highs, lows, perseverance, like all those stories that people would need to hear where, everybody dreams of being a professional soccer player, but the reality is there are, high highs and low lows in the game as well.
Yeah, I was like kind of cringing when you were going through like the accolades because growing up, for me, it wasn't easy because I had a lot of self-doubt. And it's funny, like when you talk about the accolades, it's like, oh yeah, this kid was, scoring goals and winning MVPs and all that stuff. But I was, I never won a state cup. My club team never won anything. I got cut for like 3-4 years in a row from like ODP, which was essentially the academy stuff back then, or like the only avenue to the national team. But I would say not a late bloomer because I was always really good, but I was only good in like my comfort zone. So when I was in my neighborhood with my friends, with my local club team, yes, fantastic. Anytime you took me outside of that, I was really shy, reserved, kind of didn't show all my capabilities until I felt comfortable. So 13, 14 years old, was on the bench for the state team, barely made it, got cut from the regional team, never got invited to the national team. So it wasn't until I was 16 going on 17 where I almost had that wow moment, within myself where I kind of, looked myself in the eye, kind of like cliche moment. Whereas like a kid, you're like, all right, why am I like this? Why am I not showing myself on like these bigger stages or not taking advantage of these opportunities? And kind of just made a promise to myself that I was going to give it my all with everything and not care about failure. And when I kind of tackled those demons, it was like from 17 to 19, it was like not really even a main player in like the state team to all of a sudden like national team and under 20 World Cup and number one pick and all that stuff all happened within like a 2-year period between 17 and 19. Prior to that, it was like really wondering if I was good enough. Even for college, I didn't get many scholarship offers. Like in my local area, I did. Like St. John's, UConn, Seton Hall, like all the New Jersey, New York teams, sure, full ride. Outside of that, nothing. Like ACC, I didn't get a single scholarship offer except for UVA. And UVA was only because by chance I got invited to play in this tournament where the assistant coach saw me, gave me an opportunity, and I got a 10% scholarship to go to UVA. And so I made a deal with my parents that give me 1 semester, let me see how it goes. If it pans out, great. If not, I was going to go to Princeton and probably be an academic instead of a soccer player.
So what made you pick UVA over all those other local schools? Was it you wanted to experience something different, or what prompted that choice?
It was just my dream to, pursue soccer, and UVA was a top school. And so I was like, let me see where I measure up against these guys, because they had all these national team players there. And so, I wanted to go there and see how I measured with them. And luckily my first semester, my freshman year, broke the school scoring record. And I was like, okay, I think I can hang. And then the sky was the limit.
I think it went okay.
You started the first game in your first freshman year?
No. First 2 games I didn't start. First game, came off the bench, scored a goal, and I'm like, okay, that's going to earn my spot. Second game, back on the bench, put me in like 10 minutes before halftime, 2 goals and assists by halftime. And I was like,
That'll do it, eh?
Yeah. So, and then I started every game rest of my career after that. But it was like, for me, I knew I had only 1 semester to like, everyone else was thinking like 4 years. And even when I went to UVA, the coach is like, yeah, we're probably going to redshirt you your first year. And in my head, I'm like, no, you're not. Because like all I got is 1 semester to kind of prove myself. And if not, I'm out of here. So I kind of had like a different edge and a different chip on my shoulder.
It's amazing.
And so from there, number 1 draft pick, DC United. Talk to us about that feeling about, being drafted number 1, getting called to that stage, and then some quick success immediately in 2004 with DC, right?
Yeah, being number 1 pick was a blessing for sure, and a little bit of a curse, because there was like every number 1 pick before me was like a flop. And so that was like the narrative going into it. It was like, oh, are you going to be the first number 1 pick that actually, find some success? And my rookie year, I did not. And to me, it was in large part because of the coach. Like, the coach just didn't give opportunities to young players. And we had kind of a hot and cold team. And so, again, my entire rookie year, I was like waiting for the opportunity. Didn't really come. And so I started hearing people chirping and all the press releases of like, oh, another number 1 pick bust and so on. Coach got fired after the first year. Second year, Peter Novak took over and kind of was like, everyone check your ego at the door. I don't care what your accolades are. I'm trying to build a winning team, and gave me an opportunity and made the All-Star team, won MLS Cup, and kind of cemented my place in the lineup and within the league.
Nice. And so, stops at TFC, we mentioned RSL, Chivas, Galaxy, what made each of those stops unique, and what was your favorite stop along the way? I know you won, you had your MLS Cup MVP in DC, but, favorite stop along the way in that journey, and, favorite, I guess, team to play for? We're freezing again.
Yeah.
Arrivederci.
Roma.
How was your stop at DC United, Lou?
You know what? It was good. I played against Freddie Adu.
Did you actually?
Yes, I did. Yes, I
When
did.
and where?
Dallas Cup Super Group. They gave us 6-0. The U.S. U17 national team.
Wait, but he was I think he was an 89, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, he was like 14 at the time.
So
Oh, and he torched you guys?
He didn't even play. They rested him against us.
are you?
We're talking about
I don't know what happened. That was weird.
you were freezing a bit, cutting in and out, and then you just dropped. So I don't know.
Let me
Uh,
turn the Wi-Fi off because I think maybe that's what was.
we were talking about the time Luca played against Freddie Adu because I said, "How was your stop? How was your stop at DC United?" And he's as a joke, and he's like, "I played against Freddie Adu at the Dallas Cup back in the day, and they gave us 6-0." And I go, "Oh, how did Freddie Adu do?" They said they rested him, didn't even play against us.
He was signing autographs behind the bench. It was amazing. And do you remember a guy, Memo Gonzalez, midfielder?
Yeah, of course.
What a baller. He killed us. And I'll never forget this one moment where I realized I was never going to do anything in soccer. I was on the wing, and it was Jonathan Spector. You guys remember Jonathan Spector played
Yeah.
for Man U and stuff. And I tried to take him 1v1, and he just gave me an arm like this, took the ball so casually, and I was like, yeah, that's it for me. But that was a good run. Like, I did well.
I played against him a bunch, Jonathan Spector, because they used to have the academy program out at IMG with the residency program with the youth national team. So we used to always go down there, stay there, and it'd be US, Canada, and we'd have friendlies. So like that whole like 85, 86, 87 age group, Josie, Spector, Breck
Eddie
Shea,
Gavin? Was Eddie
Eddie
Gavin?
Gavin, yeah, that whole crew.
Eddie
Those
Gavin
were the
was a baller.
Yeah,
we
he
used to have
played on
those
that
battles
team
all the
too.
time.
Corey Ash, Eddie Gavin, Memo, Freddie, John the Spector. It's a good team.
Wow.
Okay, so your stints at each TFC, RSL, Chivas, DC United, and LA Galaxy. Talk to us a bit about your journey within the league itself as a player.
Yeah. No, it was difficult circumstances around some of the trades, and in some of my stops never felt comfortable. I'd gone through switching agents, and uh, I was going into the last year of my contract. So that's when like two of the trades happened, both to TFC and then to Salt Lake. After Salt Lake, I went to Belgium for a little bit. I was with Standard Liège. I was hoping to sign there. And then all of a sudden got a phone call from MLS saying, what do we need to do to bring you back? And I was like, only if I'm in New York or LA. So that's how the move to Chivas happened. And then at Chivas, I switched over to LA with when Bruce Arena was the coach, and then finally had unfortunately my career-ending injury. But I have to say, besides DC, banter wise, teammate wise, like Toronto was awesome. But in terms of that winning culture and like falling back in love with the game, LA Galaxy was like, I felt like gave me new life. And I think I had like 2 goals in 3 games and was like really hitting my stride. And unfortunately got my career ending injury. But the locker room, the setup, the coaching, everything top down really made me fall back in love with the game again. So that'd be
I was
my
going to ask, was it the California sunshine? Was it Bruce Arena? A mix of both, probably.
a little bit of everything, man. And like Beckham, obviously being there, you know, people ask me all the time, what it's like playing with a guy like Beckham, and like I have to say, like when you're in the presence of someone like that, it makes everyone better at what they do, because no one wants to.
let him
Oh,
down.
yeah, and no one wants to be the one that's like that he's gonna like complain about and be like, this guy's not, doing their job, or the food isn't good, or the service wasn't good, whatever it is. Everyone is just like a little bit better, and just pays a little bit more attention to detail. And so, I think
that sort of pressure should exist at every club that takes themselves seriously. And it was a privilege, because, everyone's standards just goes up a little bit more from every detail, from the equipment manager to the bench, to the starters, to front office. Everyone's standards are a little bit higher, and it creates a winning mentality and a winning environment. So it was really, really cool. And there were so many veterans on the team, guys like, Greg Berhalter and Eddie Lewis, obviously Jovan Karofsky, Landon was there, a nice younger group as well with Omar Gonzalez and AJ De La Garza. So from top to bottom, it was just like a really fun team to be on, and obviously very, very successful.
And would you say that Beckham, like, did he just do that inherently because of who he was, or did he demand things from people? Did he have, like, I'm thinking Jordan, Last Dance, we've probably all seen that documentary, but, similar kind of profile where it's like nobody wants to let this guy down and be the guy to let this guy down. Was he just a guy who went about his business and it just happened where everybody was like, okay, I need to raise my level? Or was he, the type of guy who would call guys out or people out if they weren't performing and letting the team down?
No, great guy. Great guy. Never heard him like bash anyone, never saw him act like he was better than anyone. Honestly, super humble, super respectful, class act. And I think that's what made it even more so like, I don't want to let this guy down, right? Because he wasn't a guy that was, going to act like he was too big for it or too cool. I've really, really, in my short time with him, really had a admiration and respect for the way he went about his business, the way he lived his life, but also kind of the humility that he had. And yeah, he definitely, he led by example, right? Like something as simple as crossing finishing. I mean, the balls that this guy whips in are like you can literally close your eyes and run straight and it'll put it off your forehead and into the goal. But just the quality that he had with his passing, with his movement, and for me the thing that impressed me most was defensively. He was really, really good about setting traps, communicating, letting you know when to stay, when to go, and kind of going as a team. And that was in those days uncommon for stars in MLS, where guys that would come over would kind of be like vacation and not really putting in the effort. And with him you could really tell like he wanted to win, he wanted to be successful, and he was willing to put the work in as well. So it was a breath of fresh air for sure.
You got a cool Beckham story you can share with us? Because living in LA, you must have had access to certain things, certain doors that David Beckham opens that only David Beckham can open, right?
Yeah, man. Honestly, every day there was like something new. But yeah, from like the dinners to nightlife, all that stuff was like really cool where you'd go places and you'd meet people that were like uber celebrities, but they're all there trying to just get a glimpse of him, trying to get a photo with him, and we'd kind of be there picking up the scraps and just like rubbing elbows with all these different celebrities. So that was really cool. But he was just really generous too, where like you could walk into the locker room on a random day and be like, "Hey, like, do you guys want suits?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he'd be like, "All right, I think I think I'll talk to my buddy Tommy Hilfiger and we'll make suits for all the guys." And it's like, "All right, great." And a few weeks later, someone's measuring us and we're getting custom suits. Or like, "Do you guys want phones? Like, this brand is trying to sponsor me, but like I don't need a phone, but like I'll get some for all you guys." So he was like just really generous, I thought, with fitting in and just being one of the guys in the locker room, but like sharing his wealth, right? Like not acting like he was above everyone, like really trying to help everyone get a piece of it.
That's amazing. That's awesome. I used to use my TFC player card to get into certain clubs downtown. That was my best perk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
that's
you,
pretty
you
much it.
love music. You're a music.
Yeah,
man.
music was the spot. Yeah.
Music was a fun spot.
Yeah. The let's talk about the transition, right? And I want to switch kind of gears to talking about what you're doing now on a day-to-day, right? Obviously, your career ending sooner than you would like, not on your own terms necessarily with the injury. Careers coming to an end can be challenging to, an 18-year-old who can't play soccer anymore, a 22-year-old like myself who just can't get a new deal anywhere, or, an MLS vet like yourself who has to step away from the game not on their own terms. So talk to us a bit about the challenge of the concussions and ending your career, and then kind of, that transition to today where, you're working in and what is a VP of player relations and player development at Major League Soccer.
Sure. Yeah. The end of the career was tough. Obviously, I had multiple concussions. I knew I was at risk. I missed a full year when I was still 21, 22 years old. And that was the worst moment of my life. I was out for 10 months, and, it was really, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But I tried to play out once I came back. I tried to play every game like it was my last, because I knew, you know, there was, I didn't have many hits left in me before it was over. But even knowing that, once I took that last one, which was a friendly against AC Milan, ball came in, Thiago Silva, just a clearance, but it caught me, square in the face from the side where I couldn't see, so I didn't expect it, and broke my nose. I actually almost swallowed my tongue too, which I never really talk about. But if you look even on the video, I like blacked out, like I was conscious, but I don't remember it. But if you look on video, I look fine, but my mouth is bleeding, and it's because I actually like I bit a chunk out of my own
Right.
tongue. And I was like struggling to breathe. And then Thiago Silva and I think the goalkeeper was Dida at the time were like kind of like talking to me, helping me out. Either way, when I went through all that, I thought I'd be okay and still, come back just like I had before. But I started experiencing some new symptoms, which was like vertigo, migraines, different things like that were really putting my daily quality of life at risk. And met with dozens of neurologists who were like, look, this isn't going to get better, only going to get worse if you keep playing. And so no doctor in their right mind would ever clear you to continue playing at a high level. So just like that, at 27, my career was over. And it's like a big part of me just died because, for me, like I said to you earlier, I was born with the ball at my feet, playing soccer my whole life, identifying with soccer my whole life. All of a sudden, for it to be taken away, it was like, shit, like, who am I, right? Without this game, who am I? And that was a really difficult question to ask myself and to answer because, um, you don't want to face it, right? The thing that you love most in the world being taken away is a tough pill to swallow. You see a lot of different people struggle with it in different fields as well. And I'm just really fortunate that, one, I had the family support that I had to kind of get through it, to stop playing the game that I love, but then also dealing with this massive injury, which is a brain injury that is invisible, that no one can see, but you're like internally struggling every single day. Um, but two, I'm also fortunate that I didn't have like a family to support, or I didn't need to like jump in right away to like put food on the table or whatever. Like I kind of had the luxury of like taking a bit of time to rest, to figure out my next steps. So I went back to university, went back to UVA to finish my degree, to like step away from the game. And as I was away from the game, that's when I kind of had an epiphany to be like, man, soccer has given me so many incredible moments, so many memories, so many lessons. Like, how selfish would it be if I just like took all of these things to the grave with me? Like you got to now pass it on to the next generation and, close this chapter and start a new one. Um, and help out others through all these great memories and lessons and experiences that I've had. So I kind of dedicated my life to that since then, and took on different jobs, as academy director, as coach, and now at my role with MLS.
Nice. And so what does that role look like at MLS now? VP, player relations, player development, like what do you actually do? Tell people.
So
Besides your phone is crazy. I've been in person with you sometimes and I don't even know how you manage your phone.
Yeah, I wear a lot of different hats. I will say, some people join the league office in, different sports and whatever, and it's almost like a transition because they're figuring things out. For me, I did other things, like I did coaching, I did academy director, I did media stuff, I wrote for Sports Illustrated, like I did different things. I wanted to join the league office because for me, that's in MLS. I'm so proud to play in MLS. I'm proud of how much MLS has grown, and I want to help the league grow and be one of the top leagues in the world. So in my transition to the league office, I kind of immersed myself in a lot of different projects and with a lot of different departments. So I think I wear a lot of different hats, but my primary focus is on helping clubs sign and develop the top prospects that are coming through their pro player pathway. So every single homegrown player that is signed crosses my desk, and I work with the clubs to uh, ensure we use best practices to sign the top prospects, and then kind of just take on a technical lead within the league office. So that spreads across all deals. As you know, MLS is a single entity, so every contract is with the league, not with the individual club. So from a league standpoint, I lead the charge from a technical aspect on that end. And that leads to a lot of different areas, right? It's obviously like the contracts themselves and the structure and all that. It's dealing with agents, dealing with clubs, dealing with owners from a strategic level, and just trying to find ways that we could improve this league incrementally to get better over time. And obviously, leading now into a World Cup next year, there's a lot of momentum with the signing of Messi. There's a ton of momentum and eyeballs. And it's just trying to improve this thing in the way that it's always progressing and catching up to some of the best leagues in the world.
And so how do you improve? Like, MLS has grown so much since 96. I think San Diego's the most recent club. What was it? This franchise fee was 650 million, if I'm around there. It's a lot heavier than I think 10 million that TFC paid back in 2007 to join the league. The league has grown so much. How do you improve the league? And like, what is this next like strategic plan for, the next 10 to 25 years? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think there's been an evolution in different phases, right? And there's different parts of the league that have grown and other parts that still have a lot of room to grow. But our owners are very, very smart men and women who lead, multi-million dollar, billion-dollar businesses. And so I think they've been very smart and strategic with incremental growth. And, you see it publicized now with, the different meetings where they're always kind of looking at what tweaks and changes can be made to help improve the product. At the end of the day, it's about the product on the field, right? And improving the competition, improving the quality of players, individual players, and then the quality of play as a whole. And I think you've seen that over time. There's definitely been a strategic shift with moving away from the aging veterans that like just come in for a year or two and retire. And now you're seeing a lot more clubs being aggressive with signing young, talented, top players that are, coming in and maybe using MLS to make a mark before moving abroad to some of the top leagues in Europe, or just, becoming a star in MLS and growing their brand here stateside. So I think, the buckets of and types of players that clubs are signing is a lot more diverse now than it was in the early stages of the league. And I think it's ultimately resulted in a better product and more talented players. And then, yeah, you're seeing different conversations being had related to the salary cap and the investment and how to kind of loosen the reins on that to allow clubs to spend more as well. So a lot of positive things going all the way around.
Nice. And so within your desk, I would assume like homegrown talent is something that comes across your desk. You mentioned, any homegrown talents, they all come through you. How do you manage those individually? Is it like a combination of, clubs aspirations and clubs desires, player desires? Like I'm thinking of, the most recent name, biggest name, Kevin Sullivan, who's, the next sort of big thing in US soccer. Like, is it a mix of working together with the player, working together with the club, making sure that, we're doing what's best for the player and the club? When is this player going to be sold? How long should they play in MLS for? Like, how do those conversations happen from what you can share?
Yeah, it's a combination of everything. And I think that's what's unique in my role. And that's what I love most about the role is I have to learn each club and their environment and their aspirations from the club to be an extension of them. But for me, I'm also, look at it from a player's perspective. I'll always be a player at heart. And for me, it's holding clubs accountable as well to make sure they're doing what they can to do right by the player. So it's a bit of push and pull in terms of from a league standpoint, having that responsibility to uh, make sure our clubs are doing right by the player as well. So it's case by case in terms of how each agreement comes to fruition, whether it's the club leading it, whether it's the club asking me to lead it, whether it's a combination, going through the agent, going to the player and their family directly. There's not a week that goes by that I'm not having a conversation with a player himself, a parent, an agent, a club. It's a mixed bag. And to me, I love it because I think at this point, my reputation speaks for itself in that I'm kind of no BS and I'm always going to give it straight. And I truly want what's best for the player. Even if that means the player is going to another league, I can respect that. No problem if they think that that's what's best for their career. But I have no problem looking players and parents in the eyes nowadays and knowing that MLS is the right step for a lot of these players because of the work that they do, the investment that they've made, and knowing that this is a great time to be a young player in MLS. If you are able to get into an environment, prove yourself, get on the field, there are top clubs around the world that are watching you, and the opportunities are endless with what you can do by cutting your teeth in MLS. We saw it recently with Moise Bombito as well, who was a draft pick. I love that story because I the stakeholder on the college side as well with the draft and the college showcase. And Bombito was one that I saw, because of my concussions, I have like sleep apnea, so I don't sleep the best. And it was like 3:30, 4 a.m. And I'm like ESPN Plus, like watching these like college games. And it was like New Hampshire versus Vermont or something like that. And I'm watching this center back and I'm like, man, nobody can run by this guy. He's breaking lines. He's like dribbling out of the back. Like, this kid's a beast. And no one had really, talked about him being a top prospect. But just that night, I'm like, wrote his name down. I'm like, we're getting him into our college showcase. He came in, I got to know him, really great personality, big personality. And he told me, he's like, oh, I was actually a winger. I just learned how to play center back a couple of years ago. And in my head, and I told him to his face, I'm like, man, you dedicate yourself to learn this position, the sky's the limit. And sure enough, within a year and a half, he took his opportunity in Colorado and now gets sold, to France and is obviously with the national team and is one of the top center back prospects in the world, I would say. So
And
to
this is
see
amazing,
those,
Eski, because I promise on my children, to our listeners out there, this is not rehearsed. The fact that he brought up Bombito, because I don't know if you saw, Eski, but on our last episode in the technical area, we interviewed Rocco Placentino from Montreal, the TD of our sporting director of CS Saint Laurent, where Bombito
yeah.
grew up. So we had
Oh,
this
wow.
conversation in our very last episode with Rocco, talking about Moise and just how he used to be a winger, and which we didn't know, and all that sort of stuff. So for those listening out there who listened to the last episode and are listening to this now, like, this is not rehearsed. Like, he just came up with this on his own, which is amazing for us.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Those are the stories that you remember, right? And it's like, and even with Moise, like he went to a local like community college or whatever it was,
Iowa.
D3 or whatever it was for a year or two. But at the end of the day, it just shows it's not like there's a million different pathways. It's not one way of doing things. At the end of the day, if you are working on your craft, you believe in yourself, and you don't give up on yourself, anything could happen, right? And for some, it happens earlier than others. For me, that's the best part of my job. It's the most gratifying part of my job is to like give them their start, give them their opportunity. And for some, they get the opportunity, and some all of a sudden they think, oh, I've made it, right? I signed the homegrown contract at 15 years old. I made it. I'm good now. I get paid to play soccer. Guess what? No one's getting rich off of one contract,
Yeah.
Getting that first contract is just getting your foot in the door. It's just the start. That's when the real hard work begins, because now you're competing with others and you have a target on your back that people are gunning for your spot. And it's not for everyone, it's really is survival of the fittest, but the ones that are motivated, the ones that aren't afraid to bet on themselves and to really push their limits, those are the ones that, really, maximize their opportunity and their experience. And it's the stories that you love remembering because you remember where they started and, how much they dreamed of, how strong their passion was to make it. And yeah, to me, that's the beauty of the sport.
Nice.
What would you say about our Vaughn boys? Because you've dealt with a lot of them, right? Like Alistair, I imagine
Absolutely.
Alistair, Kamal, Raposo. Now you probably dealt heavily with
Dane.
Kamani, right? Dane, Kamani. What would you
Yeah.
say?
Great. Go
Sorry,
ahead,
go on. I
Lucas.
was gonna
Sorry.
say, what would you talk about them? Seeing them develop, seeing Ali look where he is now, and just the little things because he was a relatively no one coming through at first. I would say, no,
Absolutely. No, I think with all the guys that you mentioned, the things that stand out to me and it shows with their play and with their standing in the clubs that they're at is personality, right? All of them like good guys, not afraid to put in the dirty work, not thinking that they're entitled. In some cases, guys who had like pretty rough childhoods or backgrounds. I got to spend a lot of time with Kamani, kind of talking about his upbringing and actually when he was at the college showcase he was like he was complaining about a knee injury. I'm like, when this happened? He's like, oh, like 3 years ago, but I never got it checked. And I'm like, why not? And he's like, honestly, like I don't think my family could afford an MRI. And I'm like, it puts things in perspective where you're like, you hear those things and you're like, okay, this kid has a chance because this profession, this sport is not for the mentally weak. Dealing with adversity is a huge part of this game. And if you are not equipped to deal with adversity, if you haven't experienced hardship or you're not prepared to handle hardship, you're going to struggle. It's not for everyone because being a pro athlete, lots of ups and downs, lots of different pressures and challenges. And for me, the guys that, whether they get it through life experiences, whether they get it through their parents or whatever it is, that fortitude that it takes and that resilience and ability to kind of overcome is huge. And I see that a lot from the Vaughn kids and a lot of Canadian players in general. I think have that in them. Maybe it's the hockey mentality or something in the water out there, but I think that's something that really shows, and you're seeing it with the national team right now as well, where
yeah.
it's a different type of edge and mentality that is contagious.
Well, they kind of have that last chance mentality, right? Because we don't have as much success as the Americans. So when they're given these opportunities, they're giving all they can,
And
right?
this is our
Yeah,
golden
but you know
generation at
what?
the moment, one of the best teams we've ever had, the best
Yeah,
team we've ever had, right?
But you know what it is? You need to be inspired too. And I feel like for the Canadian players, they always kind of have that, resilience and the personality and all that. But you look at what Alfonso has done, and now everyone dreams bigger, right? And it's
yeah.
like, wait a minute, why did I think this is the ceiling? In fact, this is the ceiling. And now it's just everyone gets a little bit of a battery in their back, and a little bit of a boost where you're like, okay, I shouldn't just be content with being, average CPL MLS player. Like I want to play at a top league in Europe, and I can be good enough to rise to these levels. And sometimes you need those stories to inspire a full generation. And when I say that, it's not just younger guys. I'm sure there are guys older than Alfonso that saw what he did, and they're like, shoot, like I should expect more out of myself and demand more out of myself, right? It's similar to the Beckham effect that I talked about in LA. Like, without saying a word, everyone's level goes up a little bit just because you believe more.
That's amazing. And so, last question for you, and then we're going to go into a little fun segment we call the half volley hot takes. But what's next for you personally? Like, we talked about, I want to bring this full circle. We talked about your playing career from high school all the way through to concussions, forcing you to retire, transitioning into coaching, academies, VP player development, at the league. You mentioned, and we know you're a competitive guy. And if I know you well, you have those lofty goals. You're talking about opening those doors and pushing that ceiling. What's next for you personally, and what are some of those goals on your list that you're looking to check off?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. There's still a lot of work that I want to do and I want to accomplish at the league level at MLS. I love my job. I love the people I work with. And I really feel like there's so much more room to grow. especially from a player development perspective and for young domestic players. So there's still a lot that I want to help push and help this league reach those heights. But opportunities will come along the way as well. And for me, I know I'll always stay involved in the game in some capacity, on some level. I have had opportunities to jump to the club side and maybe even someday lead a club from a sporting director position or a president or whatever it is. But there's still so much that I want to do on the league side. So the way I look at it, keep doing a good job, and doors will open on their own, and opportunities will come. I'm not out chasing any opportunities, but I know that my passion is in this game, and I just want things to progress, and I want to see this league continue to succeed and reach new heights. So hopefully, I can be a part of that.
Nice. All right, let's have some fun. Let's do some half volley hot takes here, okay?
Let's do it.
This is where I just fire something at you and we go quick. First thing off the top of the head. This is the fun part of the episode. I got to start with like the viral trend because it's everywhere. I'm seeing it everywhere. 100 humans or one gorilla?
I think it's gotta be man, I've actually been like debating about this. And I'm sure I'm supposed to like give you like a one word quick answer.
No,
But
go.
but I've been going through like rabbit holes about this because there's like different sized gorillas, man, that are like changing, how you kind of view it. But I'm gonna go with like 100 UFC fighters. Yeah, I'll go with the 100 humans.
UFC
Okay.
fighters for sure. I'd say 20 UFC fighters would.
Yeah.
That gorilla is they're going to do what Jonathan Spector did to you at the Dallas Cup. That's what the gorilla is going to do. Is going to take you. And go like,
There'll be for sure a bunch that are sacrificed
Yeah.
in the process, but like at some point, if like one is like gouging the eyes or another, I don't know,
Yeah.
just getting a hole, putting in an arm bar, whatever it is, I
Yeah.
don't know, but you got to think 100 UFC fighters. I think I like their
Yeah,
chances.
surely at one point GSP has him in a guillotine. And, like at one point, and it's done. And Herb Dean just comes in and calls it
and then Jake Paul comes in
off the top row.
and all of a sudden it's on Netflix. It's just on Netflix all of a sudden.
Jake Paul's paying the gorilla.
The favorite city you've lived in and favorite city to visit. Maybe they're the same, maybe they're different.
Wow. Man, to live in, it's up there. I got 3 top ones. New York, which is where I live now. Georgetown in DC, when I lived there, was amazing. And then Hermosa Beach in California. I'm gonna go South Bay, California, because it was paradise. Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, by the water every single day, beach right there, perfect weather, nice little beach town. I'll go with that.
So favorite city to live in.
Ooh, to visit Toronto.
Nice.
Nice.
Best coach you've ever had and the coach who had the most impact on your career. Again, maybe they're the same, maybe they're different.
Yeah, same. Peter Novak. For me, best coach, super demanding, a little bit crazy, a little bit of a mad scientist. But he's such a genius with how he sees the game and how he would position players, almost transform them and put them in different positions, reinvent people's careers. Truly one of the great minds in our sport. And he's got that dog in him where he will make you intense even if you are not intense, and creates just like a chaotic, intense environment, and really got the best out of me because that's kind of what I'm used to and what I respond to.
Nice. The North American deli with the best turkey sandwich. Alecko's a huge turkey sandwich guy. The North American deli with
How
the
do you
best
remember
turkey
that?
sandwich. Because he's my friend. I
It's
remember.
my thing. I ate a turkey sandwich every single day. It's like my calling card. By the way, what a miss not getting like a sponsorship deal, right? Like, imagine if all these delis knew that that's what was feeding me throughout my career. Yeah, it could have been like Happy Gilmore with like that Subway commercial. But
Alecko, we'd like to offer you a lifetime Gatorade sponsorship. I'm going to pass. I'm going to go for the Jersey Deli. They're going to give me a lifetime of free hoagies, so I'm down.
There is in New York right now, there's a place called Fico's, which is Italian deli. It's phenomenal. That's like my go-to right now. But there used to be a place called the Original Sandwich Shop, also in New York City. And it was like very mom and pop, like a mom in the back kind of cooking everything fresh. That was the goat, deli. And unfortunately, they had to shut down, close down. So I miss them dearly.
So New York City has the best turkey sandwich, is what you're
New
saying.
York City Italian delis by far for the win.
Nice. Last one here. The reason things really didn't work out with Kim Kardashian.
I mean, I think they worked out the way they were supposed to, if I'm being honest, like I don't think I was cut for that life. But it was a pleasure meeting her. I thought we got along really, really well. And I still have nothing but good things to say about her. Super down to earth, really chill, really good heart, good person. So I hope she's happy with her life choices. And listen, she's single, I'm single. You never know. The door is not closed, man.
Nice. You're a legend, Alecko.
Nice. This will be the only clip my wife watches of this show. We've already established she does not. None of our wives watch the show. They just watch the clips on Instagram from time to time. But if Kim Kardashian pops up, my wife will. What, you filmed an episode? You filmed an episode?
Yeah, I was on one of the episodes, but I never saw it. Fun fact.
Still to this day.
To this day, but the reason why, one, I never watched the show, period. I'm not like a big TV person. But obviously, when I knew I was going to be on the show, I told a couple friends, and I was like, guys, don't tell anybody. Like, I have no idea what this is going to look like. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to tell anyone. We got you. Like, we'll just get together. We'll watch. And then all of a sudden, next thing I know, my friends told everyone and set up a viewing
They did the right
party.
thing. They did the right thing.
They set up a viewing party in my friend's bar. And now I'm there like 100 people. And I'm like, yo, I don't know how this is going to look. I had enough Irish car bombs where I can say I don't remember anything from the episode other than everyone was laughing, smiling, and high-fiving me. So I think it went okay.
Sounds like your friends did the exact thing that they should have done, because I'm almost confident if that happened to either one of us, Fantasy Poolies would be on top of that. Amazing.
It was. It's what you're supposed to do, right? It's what you're supposed to do. It doesn't happen all the time, so it was fun.
Well, Eski, thanks so much for taking the time today. That's a wrap on episode 4 of the technical area with Alecko Eskandarian, VP Player Relations at Major League Soccer and MLS legend. Thanks so much for taking the time. As always, this episode is brought to you by Addis and Albert Events. If things work out if things come back around, Kim Kardashian and Alecko, Armenian wedding, Addis and Albert can plan that wedding. But
Absolutely.
We appreciate you taking the time and look forward to hearing more and watching MLS grow. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.